Thank you. Thank you very much. Are there any teachers out there? All right. Thank you for what you do. You're amazing. And for those of you who are teachers, for how many of you was teaching your first job after graduation from college? Okay, a good number. And anyone in here who wants to be a teacher? All right, a few. Well, I want to welcome especially the teachers. And I'd like to introduce you to another teacher. We don't think of him usually as a teacher, but that was his first job after college. Let's take a look.
My first job after college was as a teacher in Cotulla, Texas, in a small Mexican-American school. Few of them could speak English, and I couldn't speak much Spanish. My students were poor, and they often came to class without breakfast, hungry. And they knew, even in their youth, the pain of prejudice. They never seemed to know why people disliked them, but they knew it was so, because I saw it in their eyes. I often walked home late in the afternoon after the classes were finished, wishing there was more that I could do. But all I knew was to teach them the little that I knew, hoping that it might help them against the hardships that lay ahead. And somehow you never forget what poverty and hatred can do when you see its scars on the hopeful face of a young child. I never thought then, in 1928, that I would be standing here in 1965. It never even occurred to me in my fondest dreams that I might have the chance to help the sons and daughters of those students and to help people like them all over this country. But now I do have that chance. And I'll let you in on a secret. I mean to use it.
That was Lyndon Johnson introducing the 1965 Civil Rights Act to Congress. Teaching was my first job after college. I was Teach for America, Corps, 1992. And I started teaching at Jefferson High School July 1st, 1992. We were escorted into Jefferson by the National Guard that was still there in South Los Angeles because it was the first day of school after the civil unrest following the Rodney King verdicts. It was an amazing summer because somehow you never forget the smell of a burning and charred community, and you never forget the look of fear in the eyes of teenagers who should look at you like they're invincible. Well, at the end of the summer, I wanted to stay at Jeff, but I couldn't because it was another time of budget cuts and layoffs, and I got put in what I call the LAUSD first-year teacher hopper. It's like you have a ping pong ball with your name on it, and they put it into that kind of power ball thing, and it spits you out. And I got spit out at John Marshall High School to be an ESL teacher, even though I didn't know what ESL was at the time. And I learned much more from my students than I ever could have dreamed of teaching them. And I went to my first graduation, my second year of teaching, and then I stayed. And a lot of things happened, and I stayed some more. And along the line, I transitioned gradually from working with English learners and recent immigrants to being a counselor for students who were substance addicted and gang involved. And sometime along that way, I'm not exactly sure when, I got a responsibility that I could never dream would change my life in the way it did. See, I got the responsibility for something that's called the grad hold list, the graduation hold list. If you don't know what the grad hold list is, it's the list of seniors, sometimes semi-seniors, sometimes super seniors, who are right on the graduation bubble. They're within the range of graduating, but for any host of reasons, they might not make it. And the counselor who's in charge of the grad hold list doesn't know a lot, but they know one thing, and that is that you're going to go on an incredible journey with each of these students, with each of these names on your list. It's going to be the graduation version of the wide world of sports, the thrill of victory and the agony of defeat. And you're also going to know that the stakes are incredibly high because of the way that the cards are stacked against poor children of color in Los Angeles. Graduation has become super high stakes, not for the ceremony, but for life. And you're going to go on a journey with these students, and you're going to see the ups and downs. They're going to do more school in 3 months than they did in the last 3 years combined. They're going to take every class they could take, every night school, every weekend class, every adult class, every contract, everything they could possibly do. And you'll see them have collapses that you didn't think were possible and make you wonder if you can go on yourself. And then the next day, acts of heroism that make you believe all over again. And you actually begin to lose it a little bit too. You copy the grad list, the hold list, and you put it all over your walls at home. And you start thinking in terms of credits all the time. You start trying to make deals with teachers, saying, come on, I know she wasn't there, but you don't really want to hear the details of that stomach virus. Give her one more chance, please. I know he wasn't there, but he's got a son. Please let him take that test again. And you do all of these things, and you run across town, and you pick up forms, and you pick up slips, and you pick up grad forms. And you know that no matter how far you go, it's not half as far as they went. And then it ends. Because you can move mountains to try and get credits after credits after credits, but you can't move a graduation day at the Greek Theater. And then either they've done it or they haven't. Either they passed the Casey or they failed it. Either they got that last paper in or they didn't. Either they finished that contract or they got only so close. And then you're left with your tattered list, with checks and with X's. The checks get a cap and gown. The X's get your consolation as you break their hearts. And then there's one more thing, which is graduation day itself. And graduation day for the counselor who worked the grad hold list is different from anyone else. Because inevitably, when you least expect it, during the interminable calling of names and walking of the stage, you will, as if by accident, catch the gaze of one of your students from your grad hold list. And in those few seconds that you hold that glance, so much is exchanged about what they went through and about what it all means. And then he walks on, she walks on, and it's over. That's what I call the graduation moment. And I want to argue to you today that we collectively, as a community, are also at a graduation moment. Because graduation in this time is not only a clear demarcation point for the trajectory of the individual student, it's a crystal clear demarcation point for us in terms of where we are with what President Obama has called our unfinished journey around race. Let's take a look at the data. This is the LAUSD 4-year cohort graduation rate. And there is some good news in here. okay? You can see on the overall rate, we have risen from under 50%, and that's not on here, but we've risen from under 50% in 10 years to 67%. But we still, at 67%, have thousands and thousands of students who are not graduating, who are not walking. And if we look at this chart, we can see that disproportionately these students are African American and Latino. Disproportionately, they are poor. And I want to argue to you that if 33% of LA students don't graduate, then we as a community don't graduate. And I want to argue to you that if we are now able to realize the disproportionality, our failure to act is an indicator of where we are on our journey. Now you see, this didn't happen by accident. It was very intentional. 10 years ago, you could go to Fremont High School and you could get countless classes in cosmetology, auto mechanics, other trades. But there were precious few classes in AP, bio, English, no matter what it was. And then if the next day you went to El Camino in the West Valley, nothing against the trades, I'm a big fan, but you couldn't find a cosmetology class, but you could find section after section of advanced placement. Now, did the El Camino students ask to be placed in advanced placement classes and the Fremont students asked to be placed in vocational track? I don't think so. Did someone look at them, the Fremont students, and either because of how they looked or how they sounded, did they assume that that was the more appropriate placement? Well, we wouldn't want to say that. But what would we say? And what our community said in 2007 was that we could not do this anymore. And we had a wonderful movement called the A through G movement. And now students at El Camino and at Fremont throughout the city have access to the A through G classes, the classes they need to graduate and graduate eligible for a Cal State or UC. But we're not done with our journey. Okay? This is going to come out within the next 2 weeks. Here's where we are. If you look at those terms, that's 100% graduation rate is on top. Okay, for the class of 14, 15, and 16, we're barely over 40%. Now look at this. That's Fremont High School. That's Pacific Palisades High School. Fremont, barely over 30%. Pali, well over 60%. And here are the demographics. Fremont, South LA, Pacific Palisades, and Pacific Palisades. The green is Fremont. The yellow is Pali. I'm sorry, the green is Fremont and the yellow is Pali. Now, when you look at these slides, the temptation is that we are going to do what we've always done. And that is when information like this comes out, we're going to blame each other. The teachers are going to blame the students are going to blame the parents are going to blame the system is going to blame the parents. And I want to argue to you that we cannot afford to do that this time, not now, not when so much is on the line, not when we're in the anniversaries that we're in. Today, the 60th anniversary of Brown versus Board of Education, 50 years since Freedom Summer, 20 years since Proposition 187. What would a different response be? What would it look like if we turned towards our students instead of away from them? This is what it might look like if we committed to really making change. We would know that we cannot back away from fidelity. If we admit or we say that somehow we're going to back down on every student needing to pass the A through Gs, then it's not going to mean anything. So we have to commit to fidelity. We have to commit to early intervention. We have to invest in early intervention because we know who's not reading at grade level by third, by fourth, by fifth grade. And for middle school students, we have to wrap around them with all the services that we could possibly get. And then, right now in high school, we need what I would call a citywide recovery effort. It's going to take at least 10,000 volunteer tutors. It's going to take a different meaning of what school is, extending the day into the night, the school day into the night, and moving it to Saturdays and Sundays as well. We're going to have tutoring centers in our churches, our synagogues, our community centers. We're going to have to see graduation on billboards and on buses. We are going to have to own this together as a community. Why do I think this could happen? Why do I think that we can do it differently than we've done before? It's because we have a rare, rare moment where everything just might come together. It's called the LCFF and the LCAP. And you've heard a lot about it, and you'll hear more about it. But what it demands of us is not the same type of distribution of resources that we've had in the past, because you saw the slides. The lie of equal opportunity is revealed in the vast inequity in outcome. The lie of equal opportunity is revealed in our vast inequities in outcome. So we have to do things differently. Can we? I believe that we can. Because the LCFF is married to the LCAP. It's not just a distribution of resources, it's a distribution of resources with exact accountability. Okay? And we must start, and we can start, with the students in the most peril and the most need first. We can build the schools if we concentrate, and I don't mean build the buildings. I mean build the programs that we know students deserve in the areas of the most concentration of poverty and peril. If we do that, vastly lowering class sizes, wraparound services at every school, extended day and extended year at every school, universal preschool from 3 years old on. If we concentrate those resources, because we can't do it everywhere, but if instead of having the schools that folks look to as successful on the West Side and the West Valley, what if we looked for success to South LA and East LA? Changing where we look, changing how we do this, makes everything possible. And because of this unique moment, I want to leave you and I want to tell you that I believe for the first time, and maybe the only time, and maybe the only time in a generation, that for all of the X's and the checks on those grad hold lists, the children and even the grandchildren, because I'm not old, of those students are now in our public school system, the same public school system. And after almost 25 years, I never dreamed I would have the chance, that we would have the chance to make real change for the children and grandchildren of the kids on the grad hold list. But I do, and we do. And I'll let you in on a little secret. I intend to use it. Thank you.